I need to get this solved quick. I don't care what I need to do. I just need these spots gone. I had loads of just like under the skin bumps and just general texture.
Yes.
And I was trying to do all sorts of different things, which now I know is the worst thing to do. You're going to literally be so angry listening to this. There's so much involved with Roaccutane, and you've got to have blood tests, you've got to have mental health checkups. I think my side effects were so strange, and I remember looking them up all the time thinking, is this normal? Be aware it will get worse before it gets better.
Hello and welcome to Treatment Room Conversations, the Skin and Wellbeing podcast. I'm Tamrin and I am your host. I'm a skin specialist based in the UK and can't wait to share some really insightful conversations with you. Today I'm joined by Mia. We are going to be talking all things Accutane and acne. Mia has been a client of mine for probably about 2 years. So 2 years?
I think so.
Yeah,
maybe 3 nearly.
Yes, so I think since around lockdown time.
Mm-hmm.
So the conversation we're going to have today is going to be really interesting for anybody who is exploring Roaccutane on an acne journey, has questions generally about this topic, and I feel like your journey and story will be really sort of educational for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously everybody's journey is different, but I feel like sharing some of yours will be really interesting for people.
Yeah.
So some of you guys might actually already know Mia. She has got a really big Instagram following and also YouTube. So I will tag her pages if you want to look at anything kind of fashion, beauty. She's the girl to go to. So yeah, let's get started. So first of all, if we rewind a little bit, when did you start suffering with acne and how did it start?
So I think I've suffered with my skin since I was about 13, 14. I think it's actually like genetic. I think my dad used to struggle with his skin. I've got 2 younger sisters and they both have struggled or are struggling. So it's been up and down for like my whole teenage years. But then it got really, really bad in 2020. So in lockdown mainly, I had just got back from traveling Southeast Asia with my boyfriend and my skin just flared up when I got home. And I wasn't 100% sure what caused it, but that was when my acne was at its worst.
Yes. And how quickly did that come on? Was it like literally days, weeks? Like, because I know obviously I'll put some pictures into this so that people will see the kind of, but it was very inflamed, widespread acne. And obviously you don't know exactly what triggered it. But how quickly did you kind of go from clear skin to like fully inflamed?
So, yeah, I feel like people wouldn't even know the extent of how bad my skin was. So I'm glad you're inserting a picture because people might not realise. So when I got back, I think I had loads of just like under the skin bumps and just general texture.
Yes.
And I was trying to do all sorts of different things, which now I know is the worst thing to do.
Yes.
Experimenting all of these different products. I was trying different things every day. You're going to literally be so angry listening to this. But I was trying to dry my skin out, like not moisturising. Because I thought the drier it is, the less oil. I feel like everybody has gone through that at some point when they're just not educated on it.
Absolutely.
So I think I was drying it out so much that it just reacted. And obviously, I think that's when it went downhill. And within maybe 2 weeks, it was just getting out of hand, like worse and worse. And I did not know what to do.
I think I remember you reached out to me and it was a really difficult time because we were in lockdown. There wasn't much I could do. I couldn't get you in the treatment room. It felt really like a really helpless time for me because I had so many people struggling with their skin, but I felt like there was so little I could do. And like, obviously when you want to help people, that is my job. It feels like, oh my gosh, there's nothing I can do for you. Obviously at the time we didn't talk about what you had been doing. And by the sounds of it, obviously you were stripping everything back, trying to dry everything out. And unfortunately that kind of makes your skin feel like it needs to produce more oil, more sebum, which basically means more breakouts. You end up with quite an impaired skin barrier. And that's probably, wasn't obviously stopping, the breakouts coming through. It wasn't helping things. It was probably making things worse.
Yeah.
And when you don't really know what to do, I think your next step was to turn to a dermatologist, wasn't it? So talk me through that process. Who did you speak to and how did you go about going on to Roaccutane?
Yeah, so I think I was just in panic mode at that point.
Yeah.
I thought, I need to get this solved quick. I don't care what I need to do. I just need these spots gone.
Yeah.
Luckily, we were in lockdown, so I didn't have to see many people. I didn't have to leave the house.
No.
And I feel like if it's going to happen to you,
That's
that is
probably
the best time
Yeah.
for it to happen. So I actually spoke to a dermatologist who was based on Harley Street.
Okay. Yeah.
And I went privately just because I had heard how long the NHS waiting list was, let alone throughout the lockdown period.
Oh,
I feel like I
yeah.
would have been waiting months, maybe even years to get
It's
seen.
generally 6 months to a year for most people. And sometimes I start seeing clients right at the beginning of that process of referral. Sometimes we can heal things naturally.
Yeah.
But I think when you've gone from having very clear skin and it's almost like a huge shock, given the fact we were in lockdown as well, you probably had nowhere else to turn.
Yeah.
So I think most people, would go down the route you
Yeah,
did.
I think you look for a quick fix. And I just had in my head, I need this healed and gone before the world restarts again, because I cannot be seen like this. So I did go privately and I had to do everything through Zoom and FaceTime with the dermatologist. There's so much involved with Roaccutane, and you've got to have blood tests, you've got to have mental health checkups.
Yes.
There is so much to it, and everything was made more difficult with lockdown. But I think I was prescribed within, as soon as I'd had my first checkups, I was prescribed within maybe 2 weeks.
Yes.
And I started taking the pills in May 2020.
Yeah. And how quickly did things improve? Did it get worse before it got better, or did it kind of instantly get better?
Yeah, I think the first month to 2 months was just the worst. I say it was the worst my skin's ever been before I went on it, but I think that first month,
that was actually the worst.
Yeah, going into the second month was the worst. And then by the end of month 2, going into month 3, I think that's when you notice the difference. It feels like so long ago, so it's hard to recall. And I wish I'd made more notes or written a diary or something. But month 3 was when I saw the real changes. But just be aware it will get worse before it gets better.
Yes, so often that's the thing. I feel like from my perspective, Roaccutane is sort of like a last resort situation. If we can't heal things internally, naturally, find triggers and through treatments, it's always a last resort because it does get worse before it gets better. And it's a massive thing to do, isn't it, with the blood tests and everything?
Yeah.
And was was everything explained well to you? Did you sort of suffer with any kind of side effects, mentally when you were on Accutane?
So I think I was quite lucky with the mental side of things, just because in my head, this was the only thing that was truly getting me down. And I believed if this was fixed, I would be fine. I would be happy.
So you were on a positive journey because you knew you were doing something.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I do know so many people struggle with that side. Everything was explained quite clearly. I remember getting all of my blood test results and I could look over them and see what was going on
with your body.
What maybe wasn't right. And but I feel like it was all quite clear. It was quite an easy process.
And I think when you go privately, that tends to be the case. I think sometimes, that is the best way because obviously everything does get explained to you. You kind of really know what you're getting yourself into. So in terms of actual side effects, so did you have any side effects whilst on the medication in terms of sort of dry skin? I know of clients who've had nosebleeds, all kinds of really strange things. So did you have any of that experience?
I think my side effects were so strange. And I remember looking them up all the time thinking, is this normal? obviously the main side effect would be dry skin because it's doing all of that to your body. Of course, that's going to happen. But I was also so prepared for this dry skin. I had every hydrating product under the sun, like ready for it. I was on top of it. So this wasn't the main thing for me, but the weirdest side effect I had was really, really sore nail beds. My fingers were so inflamed, and I was just looking for an explanation for this because I'd never heard anybody explain this before, and I'd watched YouTube videos and obviously looked it up online because who doesn't do that before?
But nobody had this symptom.
I had not seen this once, so I thought, is this Roaccutane? But I think it was.
Yes.
They were so inflamed. I remember if anybody even knocked it with the slightest touch, my fingers would bleed.
Oh my
And it was so painful. I have pictures of this. It was so weird. I would also say the second main side effect for me was my eyes were so bloodshot and sensitive to the sun.
Yes.
I was working in a restaurant at the time and we were serving customers outside because it was in the summer. Like as I was coming off, this was about 4 or 5 months into it. So my skin was on the up. And my eyes were streaming constantly. They were so red. They were so bloodshot.
Yeah.
I looked really ill, like to look at. I didn't look well.
Yeah.
And that was a weird one.
Yeah. And quite scary as well when you have bloodshot eyes all the time.
Yeah, I'd never had that
bleeding
before.
nail beds.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so important for people to know that there is side effects associated to these things. And everybody's might be slightly different. Some people might be the mental health. Some people might just be the dry skin. But just knowing there is side effects is really, really important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's obviously a big thing to put your body through. So how long were you on Accutane?
So I was on it for 7 months in total, I think, if I've done the maths right. It was May 2020, and then I came off in January 2021.
Yes.
So 7 months. It felt like a really long time, actually. And especially when your skin gets better towards the end. You almost feel like you don't need to take it anymore.
No.
But I think the fear of it returning and coming back makes you want to finish the course.
Yeah, it is the scary bit, isn't it? And unfortunately, with Accutane, a lot of time people do relapse, but it is kind of that situation of getting to the core, the root of the reason why we break out. Whether that be hormones, whether that be lifestyle, whether that be stress. Stress is a massive trigger for the skin.
Yeah.
And that's actually why a lot of people did suffer when we went into lockdown and stuff, because it was such a change. Loads of people started to suffer with their skin because they were stressed about what the future held, those kind of things. Or, just anxious, those kind of things as well. So I think we've spoken a little bit about, we think maybe hormones might be a slight trigger for you. But did they actually ever try and get to the bottom of your triggers within, sort of dermatology?
Yeah, so within the first meeting, first conversation, she diagnosed it as environmental and hormonal acne.
Yeah.
I wasn't even 100% sure at the time. I don't think I cared at the time.
Yes.
I was just like,
you just wanted the cure.
Just fix me. I don't care what's
You
caused
wanted
it.
the cure. You weren't too worried about the root. Just give me the solution.
Yeah. Whereas now I think, as I'm older and wiser, and I know you, I would want to maybe get to the root of it and really discover why this is happening. Yeah. And is there an alternative?
And I think we've had, conversations in clinic about, if things started to creep back in, what we would do and whether we'd look to balance things out naturally, try and work on natural sort of like oil production, those kind of things. But the fact you'd been traveling is like a really interesting one because obviously environmental, you've gone from one extreme to another, being in probably, where were you, Southeast Asia or somewhere, coming back to the UK. It's a massive sort of climate change, isn't it, really? So it is interesting the amount of things that can affect our skin. So obviously you've been off of Accutane for a little while now. So how has your skin been since? Obviously for about 6 months post drugs, we actually couldn't do any treatments at all. But how has your skin been since you came off?
So I had a good year-long run of perfect skin. And I just thought this was life now. I was like, well, that's it. I've taken the medication. I'm cured. I'm never going to get a spot again in my life. So I did have a good long run of this, and it was obviously great for my confidence. I felt amazing. But then I think maybe about a year and a half after coming off, I started to get the odd breakout.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything crazy, and I also wasn't too worried about it, surprisingly. I thought I would be panic mode. Oh my God, it's
like
coming
freaking
back.
out.
Yeah, exactly. But I kept cool, and it never obviously did get anywhere near where it was before.
Absolutely not.
It was just the odd breakout, and I thought, well, do you know what? People do just have to deal with this.
Yes.
Everybody will deal with this.
Absolutely. And it is completely so important to really state how normal it is to get the occasional breakout. It can be things like stress, hormones, very slight diet changes, late nights, actually getting a blemish is completely normal. Obviously, the extent that you were experiencing was completely something else.
Yeah.
It was inflamed acne, but just getting the odd pimple is completely normal, isn't it? And I think we live in a world where that's kind of seen as it's not normal. We should have clear skin all the time, but not necessarily. Even people who really look after their skin can still get the odd breakout. So I think it's like changing the narrative and not expecting to almost be like perfect all the time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So how have things been? Like, I know recently, like we've spoken and you've decided to come off contraceptive. Have you felt like your skin has changed again?
Yeah, so with hormones, I feel like they are a bit all over the place at the moment. Just personal reasons, I've decided to come off the contraceptive pill. I feel like my body needed a break. Well, actually, we had a conversation, didn't we?
We did, yes.
And I feel like you've been through a similar journey with coming off contraception and then just sort of checking that everything was good down there. Everything's running smoothly, everything's working. Because I had been on the mini pill for nearly 8 years, which is such a long time. And this obviously means I'm not getting periods and I'm just not working the way maybe I should be.
No.
So I decided to come off and just give my body a break and see if everything was okay. And luckily everything is. Like it's all good. My periods are back. I'm,
Yeah, you're feeling good. You're feeling fine. Yeah.
But with the periods and the hormones comes the breakouts. And it's, for me, all around my chin, mouth, lip area.
Yes.
I guess I was expecting it because I know you had also warned me. If
I did,
you do come off, just be aware this, could trigger.
Probably a little bit of post-pill,
which
acne, breakouts.
I've accepted and it is really normal. I did have quite a cluster of spots around this area of my mouth. And I did panic because I thought, okay, this might be it now.
Well, it's kind of like it's a whole new thing for you, isn't it? You're kind of just thinking, is this just, a one-off or is this the start of something?
Exactly.
And I know you've sent me a couple of SOS messages and I've just been like, it's okay. It's points of your cycle. It will be linked to other things, maybe, diet. I know you're really good with your diet, but it will be linked to something else. So kind of don't panic situation. And generally when you have a good skincare routine, your skin will kind of take the highs and lows. And when you come off the pill, you are naturally depleted in lots of vitamins. So that is something we will talk about, like out of podcast, because I know I said to you, we'd talk about vitamins and supplements and things you could just be taking for general health, because I know that you are sort of about like health and well-being anyway. But it is important to like understand that we get estrogen surges throughout the month, through our cycle, and being in touch with your body in that way is like really important. I often say to clients, they kind of fear periods and everything else. I'm like, being a woman, these are something that we actually should embrace because it's a natural part of us, and it is important for our bodies to have hormone release. So actually taking a break from contraceptive, I think came at a really good time for you, because I think it was important for you to become more in tune with your body and actually just know how your body operates in its natural state, because you just wouldn't know otherwise, would you? And it is important.
I was kind of prepared for it. I thought if it comes with the breakouts, at least I know I'm doing a good thing for my body, and also at least I know what the cause is.
Absolutely.
I think obviously all those years ago I was in panic because I didn't know what was happening or what to do to fix it. Whereas now, as you say, being
You're
more
in a
tune,
different place.
I'm in a different place. And I'm more understanding why
Yes.
these things are happening.
Absolutely.
And not panicking.
And that's the thing, it all makes sense. When I break it down for clients, sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense as to why my skin's doing this.
Yeah.
But until you have someone explain to you those highs and lows with hormones, you don't really know, do you?
No.
So it's, once you're informed, you feel like you can handle everything better.
Definitely.
So obviously we've been doing some treatments in clinic, working on some of your scarring, and we've also been using some skincare. So I feel like your skin's made a really good recovery post Roaccutane, because you did have some scarring, didn't you? And I think you've been really invested in that, really committed to it.
Yeah.
So I think through microneedling and everything, we've got your skin to a really good place. Most people wouldn't actually know that you suffered with acne in the past, would they?
Yeah.
So do you feel quite confident in your skin now? Obviously 3 years ago, you really were not in a good place. Do you feel really confident in your skin now?
Yeah, I feel like the microneedling treatments were such a game changer. They really fixed, for me, it was the pitted scarring around sort of my eyebrow, cheekbone area.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I will still always notice these things.
Yes.
But the main thing is nobody else would know.
Absolutely not.
And I think you're always going to have this picture in your head of what your skin looks like. When you've suffered really badly, I would never believe that my skin looked perfect or looked great if I struggled to take a compliment, because I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, you've almost got a photographic memory back to the time of how your skin was then, instead of acknowledging how it is now.
Yeah.
And nobody would ever even know that you had scarring now. And your skin responded really well to the treatments, but I think also because you're doing all the right things at home as well, that makes a huge difference. And it's, it just makes literally the results so much better.
Yeah.
I often do get asked by clients, what's the best treatment for scarring? And I always say microneedling, because it literally is the best treatment. It does make your skin really plump and firm and tight. So when you've been in for treatments, what would you say your favourite treatment in clinic is?
So I think the first treatment I ever had was microneedling, because I know my goal was to sort out my scars and get rid of those. We did a few of those, didn't we?
Yes.
And I was addicted to the way that my skin looked after the treatment. Can you remember me saying oh my God, I am addicted to this, to this way my skin looks. But then we've also done the hydration facial.
Yes, yeah.
I think at the time that's what my skin needed. I think it's just knowing what it needs at the time, which you always know. I always come to you and I don't have a plan on what treatment I'm going to get that day. You will just tell me, because you'll know.
Which is literally the best way, because sometimes I have clients come in and they'll be like, this is what I'm booked in for. And I'll be like, no, that's not what we're doing today.
Yeah.
Just because they'll come in and their skin is so dry and flaky. I'm like, there is no way we are doing a chemical peel, or we need to work on hydration. Your skin barrier is basically the foundation of your skin, and keeping that balanced is key to how your skin will basically react to everything. So keeping it hydrated is super, super important. So whenever someone's suffering with dryness, I always revert back to nope, let's do what's right for your skin. Same with acne. If people come in with really inflamed acne, they're like, yep, I'm ready for needling. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not. We can't do that yet. We don't need over-inflamed acne. So it's always in my clinic about doing what's right for your skin. And I think generally you see the best benefits that way. But I feel like we've just got into a really good place now where it's just maintenance for you, really.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
before shoots and stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
And dare I say, a few years ago, obviously where you are now in your life, you probably wouldn't have had the confidence to do the things you're doing now because of your skin.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
And skin confidence is such a massive thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like it must, deep down, it must have sort of changed my life.
Yeah.
Because the things I'm doing now, I never would have thought I'd be doing a few years ago. And I think my skin has a massive part to play in that.
Absolutely. I think it is, overall confidence does come from your skin, and it's really, really important. So obviously, if you ever did start to flare again, would you do Roaccutane again? Is that something you would?
It's not on the radar.
No.
I definitely wouldn't think about doing it again.
Yes.
Obviously, it's more of a cross that bridge when it comes to a situation.
Yes.
But I think knowing that I have you, the expert, I'm in safe hands.
Yeah.
And I can send my SOS message
Yes.
when I'm panicking about my skin and my breakouts.
Yeah.
I can pop you a message, and I think it's just nice to know that you're there.
Yeah.
You understand my skin. You understand more deeply
Yes.
what I'm going to need, what's
Yeah.
going on in my body.
Yes.
And I think that's so important.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think about going on Roaccutane again.
And I think that's the thing, is having someone that you can talk to, but also I am not afraid to ask you really personal questions. Like,
which I love.
How's your hormones? Like, where are things at? And sometimes I do have to get really personal with clients because it all feeds in, and nothing that ever happens with our skin is coincidental. And that's something I've really learned. It's really responsive.
Yeah.
It is an organ. It's always changing. It will have highs and lows. But I'm really hopeful for you, like 3 years on, that you're now in a good place and you won't even have to worry about that. And we have got options. So yeah, I don't think it's something we need to worry about. But I'm just glad you generally had an all-round, quite good experience, apart from the odd side effects. Because obviously that isn't always the case. But this, the point of this podcast is to talk specifically about your journey, obviously not anybody else's, and just so that if somebody is thinking of going down that line. So I have a couple of questions to ask you before we finish off. So first of all, what is your favourite skincare product? Obviously no pressure, because obviously I've recommended most of them. But what is your favourite product that you literally couldn't live without now?
So what if I said this in Ives scrub?
I'd be like, no, you definitely do not
cut
use
this
that.
podcast, get her out.
Yeah.
I would have to say the Hydrate.
Yes.
The hyaluronic acid.
Yes, serum.
So nice, the serum.
Yes.
I didn't use any serum before, and this we were talking about this before, but it just glides around your face, and when you put this on before moisturising, it makes the biggest difference.
It does. So people often overlook serums a little bit.
Yeah.
They sort of think, oh, I'll just go straight in with a moisturiser. Obviously, moisturiser is a really heavy molecule, so it's like a really, thick formula, which is unable to penetrate deeply into the skin. So like when you come off of Accutane or something like that, you want something that's really going to work into the skin, the deeper layers, hydrate your skin, which I think is why you probably love it so much and have seen such good benefits from it, because you're actually able to work deeper into your skin now. And I think what you were doing before was kind of like lathering the top layers and not really getting in there, shall we say.
I just thought, oh my God, get me as much moisturiser on my face as possible. Not really understanding what I'd need before moisturiser, but the hyaluronic serum feels like a glass of water for your skin.
It's literally a dream, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so nice.
It is, and it's so important to stay hydrated. Yeah. Right, now, before we finish, I have got a couple of little presents for you.
Have you?
Yes, these are for you.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
And you're going to think, oh my God, I know you so well. Obviously, I have watched your YouTube, so I'll know. So you can open up the one in the little tissue paper. Yeah.
No pressure. Oh my goodness. Are you joking?
I know you're like a little fan of mugs, aren't you?
I'm a mug addict.
I was like, if I'm going to get me anything, it needs to be a mug.
So
just to say thank you for coming on and being my first podcast guest.
Thank
so that's
you. You are welcome. I love that. Oh my God, that's so sweet.
Yeah, and then the other one is just a little one from the clinic. I don't know if you have these, but I thought actually you can try them.
I've heard good things from you. Are these the
under eye? These are my little under eye masks.
Yeah, okay.
So I always use those in the morning. So yeah, you can give them a try.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So sweet of you.
Well, thank you for coming on and being my guest. I feel like we have covered a lot of stuff. I feel like it'll be really interesting for other people to listen to.
Yeah, I hope so.
And yeah, thank you for sharing your journey, your skin journey with me. And yeah, thank you.
No, thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for tuning in for my first podcast with Mia. I hope you found the conversation interesting and insightful. I just quickly wanted to say a few words following our chat, just to mention that Roaccutane is very much a last resort drug in most cases. I would only recommend it for somebody who is suffering with a grade 3 or 4 acne. There's different levels to acne. If you you are sort of like a grade 1 or 2, that is not severe enough for the need for such an extreme drug. Obviously Mia had quite minimal side effects, but that is something that can change on every person. And it certainly does put your body through a lot going on that kind of medication. So there isn't always a need for this. So I would actually suggest, if you are struggling with acne and you are particularly sort of like a grade 1 or 2 and it's fairly controlled, or you're noticing triggers, to actually speak to a skin specialist first. It is really a last resort. The things to get in place first would actually be your diet, assessing lifestyle, assessing triggers, looking at hormonal patterns, and basically looking for the underlying root cause of the problem before turning to this drug. I did also get a few questions on Instagram that I just quickly wanted to answer for you guys. I feel like I did cover this potentially in the podcast, but I had questions around the best way to fade acne scars. This would be microneedling. Microneedling, hands down, is the best way to treat acne scarring. Also making sure you have a really good solid home care routine to help alongside having those treatments. I did also get questions around, is Roaccutane worth it? Does it actually cure acne? First of all, acne is not a curable condition. It is a condition that requires a management program. Our skin is an ever-changing organ, so no, Roaccutane does not cure acne, but as you can see, in Mia's case, it did clear up her skin. However, her skin, may flare in the future, hopefully not, but it is not a long-term forever cure, but in some cases it does work for people. So deciding whether it's worth it does depend, like I say, on the severity of the condition. I also had questions just around how much does diet play a role in acne. It is actually does play a huge role actually in acne, and knowing things like food intolerances and triggers, and maintaining obviously a healthy lifestyle with good balanced diet is really important when it comes to dealing with something like acne. I think that most of the other questions were covered within the podcast, so I'm going to wrap it up there. I will be back. I'd love to know what else you would like to hear from me, other skin stories from clients covering a range of topics, or whether you would like to hear more from wellbeing practitioners. That is something that I would love to speak to nutritionists and other holistic healers, and maybe cover some of those topics as well. So I will be back soon, and thanks for listening.